This is Mrs. Sharpley. Today we're going to do a notebook page about the Boston Tea Party. We'll have to read it a couple of times to get this activity complete. I haven't glued my notebook page in yet. We're going to do a lot of colored pencils on this side, and sometimes when we glue in, then the colored pencils don't show up the way we want to. So I'm actually going to hold off on the gluing for right now. I have cut out my page and it is going to go in sideways on my notebook, so I have it ready. However, I am not going to glue it in yet. So go ahead and follow along with me. The Boston Tea Party. Teacup turned up or teacup turned down. This simple act let people know which side you were on. You were either a patriot, someone that was against the king's taxes, or a loyalist, someone that supported the king's taxes. Colonists loved their tea, and in 1773, the British king has taken away all the taxes on the colonists except the one on tea. This made the patriots furious. They took things into their own hands, and several angry patriots, dressed like Mohawk Indians, and dumped 342 crates of tea into the Boston harbor. One dark, shadowy night, they thought their disguises would trick King George, but he punished Boston for the Boston Tea Party by closing the ports. This kept any goods from coming in or going out of the city. He refused ships to move until the taxes were paid on this tea. All right, so we're going to use 3 colored pencils. I'm going to use blue, green, and red. You can use what colors you want, but as you're looking for things in the passage, you'll obviously want those colors to match. For main idea, I'm going to use red today. And then for character trait, we'll do 2. We'll use the green. And for our perspective, we will do our blue. All right, so main idea, what caused the Boston Tea Party? So basically this entire passage is talking about the Boston Tea Party and what caused it and what it was. Then we have character trait, which is based on the information from the text. What traits would you use to describe patriots? Explain your thinking. So the passage talked about patriots and loyalists, and this particular question wants us to describe patriots and explain our thinking. And then we have perspective, which we're going to use for blue. And why do you think King George thought it was okay to still charge a tea tax on the colonists, even though they no longer lived in England? Explain your thinking. All right, so as we read this a second time, we'll look for things for main idea and things for character trait. However, we'll save the perspective for the third read just because it gets a little bit overwhelming trying to find all 3 at the same time. All right, so go ahead and follow along with me as I read this a second time. And keep in mind, again, we're looking for anything that's going to help us with the main idea, and then, of course, character trait for patriot. So anything that's talking about a patriot, we're going to pay attention to. So teacup turned up or teacup turned down. This simple act let you know which side you were on. You were either a patriot, someone who was against the king's taxes, or a loyalist, someone that supported the king's taxes. So right away I have something that's going to help me with that character trait in describing a patriot. Because it says either you were a patriot, someone that was against the king's taxes. All right, colonists loved their tea, and in 1773, the British king has taken away all the taxes on the colonists except the one on tea. All right, so that's going to help us a little bit with our main idea. We know that the king is an important person that they're talking about, and they are taxing the tea. All right. And I guess the fact that the colonists love their tea is probably really important too. This made the patriots furious. So again, we see that word patriots, and we know that those patriots are furious. They took things into their own hands, and several angry patriots dressed like Mohawk Indians and dumped 342 crates of tea into the Boston harbor. One dark, shadowy night. All right, so we've got those patriots again. And we know those patriots, they're the ones that dressed up and they're the ones that dumped those 342 crates of tea. All right, but then it's also going to help us with our main idea as well, because the fact that those patriots dumped that tea is really important detail. So we're going to include that as a main idea helper as well. They thought their disguises would trick King George, but he punished Boston for the Boston Tea Party by closing the ports. This kept any goods from coming in or going out of the city. All right, that's a really important point that we're going to kind of keep in mind for our main idea. So it kept goods from coming in or going out of the city. Because colonists, when they came here and they settled, they were able to have some goods that they were able to make on their own, but they were still getting a lot of goods from England and other countries. So the fact that they closed all those ports, that meant that they weren't able to get the goods that they needed. Then on the other side of it, the colonists were creating things that they were also able to make money on, but the fact that they weren't able to ship them out to be sold to England and to other countries made it very hard for them to be making money as well. He refused ships to move until the taxes were paid on his tea. All right. So refused ships to move until the taxes were paid. All right. So we're going to read this a third time, keeping in mind perspective. We're supposed to know, why do you think King George thought it was okay to still charge a tea tax to the colonists even though they no longer lived in England? Explain your thinking. All right, so teacup turned up or teacup turned down. This simple act let people know which side you were on. You were either a patriot, someone that was against the king's taxes, or a loyalist, someone that supported the king's taxes. Colonists loved their tea, and in 1773, the British king has taken away all taxes on the colonists except one on tea. This made the patriots furious. They took things into their own hands, and several angry patriots dressed like Mohawk Indians and dumped 342 crates of tea into the Boston harbor one dark, shadowy night. I'm going to go ahead and rewind to the fact that the British king, he had taken away all taxes on the colonists except for the one on tea. I'm going to have that help me a little bit as far as thinking of the king's perspective, because he was taxing the colonists on a lot of things, but he's taken all the taxes away except for the tea. So why would he take off all of the other taxes? He knew that the colonists were becoming upset. That may have influenced his decision to stop all the other taxes. But then why did he leave just the tea? We know that the colonists loved their tea, so perhaps this is something that he knew that they were going to for sure use. In this way, he could make some money on it. Maybe the fact that tea isn't necessarily something that you have to have in order to survive. It was something that was more for enjoyment. Maybe he felt like you could have it for that or he could tax it for that reason. All right, so they thought their disguises would trick King George, but he punished Boston for the Boston Tea Party by closing all the ports. This kept any goods from coming in or going out of the city. He refused ships to move until the taxes were paid for the tea. All right. So now that we have finished with using our color pencils, we're going to use scissors to separate on the dotted lines. And then when it comes to gluing, we're just going to glue just on the side that has the text on it. And again, we'll glue it in sideways like this, so. All right, so now when it comes to the main idea, we'll flip and be able to write our main idea here. Same for the character trait, and same for perspective. All right, and then when you are finished, your teacher will have directions for you on how to turn that in. All righty.